So let's go ahead and dive into what these candlesticks actually are. So for the double bottom engulfing kicker, we would be looking at a market in a downtrend and the double bottom to come into play. For a double bottom, the way we're going to define that is that if we have a candle here, let's go ahead and draw one on, swing high and swing low. For the second bottom, in order to classify this as a double bottom, for the second bottom, the wick of this candle must at least touch the bottom of the body of the swing low candle that was previously the first bottom of the double bottom. So what do I mean by that? Well, here we have that body marked by our dotted line. We need the wick of the second bottom to at least touch the body of the first bottom. That would qualify this as a accurate double bottom. So that's rule number one. We also need, for rule number two, the body of this candle cannot close below the swing low of the first low. So if we get something like this, that would invalidate the pattern. Let's say this is a whole candle. And what I'll actually do to try to make this a little easier, guys, sorry about that, is I will go ahead and draw this out with some trend lines, and we'll use some green boxes. I'll try to draw this on pretty quickly. Okay, so what we need to see is a wick that at least touches the bottom of the body of that first bottom of our double bottom. That's going to qualify this as a valid double bottom for us. Now, we also need to make sure that the body of the second bottom of our double bottom does not close below the wick of the first bottom. So if we get something like this, I'll move this down to the wick. Here we have the wick of our first bottom, and if the body of the second bottom closes below that wick, then we have an invalid double bottom. This does not count as a correct double bottom. So what we need to see is the body above the swing low of the previous bottom and a wick that at least touches the body of the previous bottom. As long as we have those two factors, then we can count this as a double bottom. Now the same thing applies for a double top. We'll go ahead and switch this around and take a look at that. And here we have a double top situation. So we have this first top coming up. The black line is now at the body, the top of the body of that first high. We need a wick to at least touch that. So what would not be valid is if this candle looked like this. If this was the case, this would not qualify as a double top. The reason that this would not be a valid double top is because the wick does not touch the top of the body of the first top. So if that's the case, that's not a valid double top. So we need that wick to at least touch the top of the body of that first top, and we need to make sure that the body of this second top does not close above the wick of the first top. So that's a pretty simple concept. Hopefully you're understanding that quite well. If not, just go back and rewatch this part of the video, and I'm sure you'll have no problem getting it. So this is what qualifies a regular double top and double bottom for us. We're going to add a little bit of a more advanced entry to this. So not only do we look for a double top and double bottom, what we also want to see is this double top or double bottom followed by one of our advanced engulfing entry reasons that we talked about in the transition phase. So what we'd want to see is something like this. We would want to see this valid double top right here based on our double top rules. And then we would want our swing high candle of the second top to be followed by an engulfing candle, or we would want something like this where the swing high candle of the second top is the engulfing candle. So as you can see, we're using the advanced engulfing entry we learned in the transition phase, and we're just incorporating that with double tops and double bottoms to make a more advanced entry and a more accurate entry for trend continuation and counter trend trades. This type of entry works really well for counter trend trades, and we'll discuss more about that as we get into the more advanced strategies here in the phase 3 of the EAP training program. We'll go ahead and take a look at a double bottom engulfing kicker as well, and then we'll head to some live charts and take a look at what this looks like on actual price action. So let's go ahead and do a double bottom. Okay guys, so in this case you can see we have our valid double bottom rules met. We have a first bottom followed by the wick of the second bottom touching that first bottom. We have a red candle that is a swing low followed by an engulfing candle matching our entry reason for the advanced engulfing entry. Now another thing we could look for is if this engulfing entry was in fact the swing low of the second bottom, that would also be a valid double bottom engulfing kicker. So that's the double top and the double bottom engulfing kicker advanced entry reason that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the video. We'll take a look at this on some price action on a real chart. So let's take a look at the double bottom engulfing kicker first. Okay guys, so here we have our double bottom engulfing kicker. See if you can spot it before I point it out. So here we have a move down, a swing low, push back up, a push back down. And what do you notice about this section here at our double bottom? Well, we ended up getting a nice advanced engulfing entry reason. So we have a valid double bottom because we need wicks to touch the bottom of the swing low bodies of the previous bottom of the double bottom, which was what we get. And yes, that was a lot of times of saying bottom. Then we come down, our wick touches that, our candle close is not below the wicks of the previous bottom, and we get our advanced engulfing entry as well, putting us in a position to call this a double bottom engulfing kicker. So guys, that's a good example of the double bottom engulfing kicker. We'll take a look at an example of the double top engulfing kicker as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Okay guys, so here's an example of a double top engulfing kicker counter trend move that ended up playing out pretty nicely. See if you can spot that before I point it out. All right, so hopefully you saw this. We have a push up to a swing high, a push down. Now we're looking to see if we at least get the wick of a candle touching the bodies of this previous swing high. We do, of course, we get the bodies of those candles touching it, so that counts. And we can't see a close above that previous high, so this counts as a valid double top. Well, as we have this valid double top here, push up, one top, valid double top, what do we also get right here? We get that advanced engulfing entry on the second top, making this a valid double top engulfing entry pattern, or double top engulfing kicker. So this is another extremely accurate yet pretty simple entry reason that we're going to be using later on in the course in order to incorporate in some more advanced strategies. If you had any trouble with the double top or double bottom engulfing kicker, just go back and rewatch this video. And if you still have trouble after that, feel free to email me at steven@thetradingchannel.net. I hope this has been valuable for your trading, and I can't wait to see you in the next videos.